Hello all together. Welcome to our fourth unit of the drawing basis of head and face. Before we create a proportion of a face, make a clean drawing in Photoshop and use this as a prompt for AI. And now we want to combine all the Illustrator and Photoshop again. And this is the result we want to reach. And here comes the steps that we have to go to reach this. Okay, at first we can say these are aims, and our first one has to be we editing the we edit the AI result in Illustrator with an image trace to get a special effect. And then we jump to Photoshop back again and we colorize it there, this result. And then we create this 0, 1 background in the meaning of digital world. And then last step, we create a text in Illustrator to learn this. And yeah, we want to do the combining all the time and learning this combining process. That is why I think it makes sense. Okay, I hide my start layers here and go back to my result from the last unit. This was the result from the last unit, but I want to test a little bit more, and then I come step by step to this here. And this is what we use today for work. Okay. That means we create, I think it's the best way to create a new image, a new file with the layers we need here. Otherwise, we have too much stuff. Okay. I select these layers here and press the Control key to select the other ones that I need. This is white, the blobs, not the paper. Millimeter paper is fine. Textile is fine. The brown color and the gradient. And then I duplicate all by clicking with the right mouse key, duplicate layers. And then I say new as a target, press OK. And then I hide my original, here my presentation file. Yes, I save this. And here I save this too by pressing Control Shift S. I replace the image here from before that I prepared before. It's suitable. Okay. Then I want to have at first only the face from the AI. That means I duplicate this a second time. I go here to my AI layer and press the right mouse key again, go to duplicate layer and take again the target new. Here it comes. And then I press the right mouse key on my layer mask. You remember possibly this is for the non-destructive deleting. I delete the layer mask so that I have all. Then I save this again by pressing Ctrl Shift S and call this image and AI additionally. And then I minimize my Photoshop, go to the Illustrator now. Here I have to create at first a new file with a white background. Okay, I go to menu File, or I press Control N for new file. I prepared already a custom one, or an individual one. 1920 to 1080 is the same size as the work in Photoshop. I press Create. Takes a little bit time, I don't know why. And then I place my AI result into. I go to menu File, go to Place. And here I choose my file and press Place or make a double click. And in Illustrator here I drag my cursor with this miniature beside from corner to corner, and then I have the entire one. By the way, if this is too notable to you that you have these informations all the time, you can go to Menu Edit, Preferences, and here to General. And here you can say Show Tooltips, and you can say deactivate it. And then it's possibly a little bit more relaxed to work if you don't need it. Okay, we want to vectorize automatically this image here. We check if this is really transparent. You can drag it a little bit down. You can see around is transparent. I go back by pressing Ctrl Z. Then I go to my image trace. Here you have a lot of standard presettings that you can use for. I want to do a little bit more. That's why I go to menu Window. In this alphabetical order, I find the image trace now. Here I press onto. And then I change the settings to mode, not black and white. It has to be color. But I want to reduce the color range or value to only 20. And important is that we have a transparency around. And then I press preview. But before I repeat, mode is color. Colors are only 20. And then we need transparency, and then we activate the preview. Then we have to wait a little bit. Yes, in the older illustrators, we have often a black screen and have to wait really long. And if you do this possibly with a photorealistic resolution, you have the same problem. Okay, then we have to wait. And this is our result. I zoom in to show. And we need this for the left part of our face. Attention, attention, you have to press expand here or here to create really a vector-based result. If you want to play with, you can use the direct selection tool. That means the white arrow. And then you can click in an area you want, possibly here. And then you fill it possibly with a color. I'm wondering, yes, now it works. Or not. Yes. I don't know why it is possible here to go directly with this. Yeah, now it works. Sometimes we have these problems. We have to deselect in a way or select again, and then we get the perfect control bar here. And now I have it. And when I press now the red, everything is red. This is what I don't want to have. Other possibility, this is what I want to show, is when you are on the direct selection tool, choose an area here, and then you choose another color. You can colorize each step here, each area for your own expressionistic artwork if you want. But I go back now, click outside, press Ctrl Shift S for Save As. And this is our image illustrator, what I want to create here with the saving and replace the result that I prepared before. Then I want to export for our Photoshop version. I go to Menu File, and here I go to Export, and here I go to Export As. And I want to have a PNG, and I want to use the prepared one again, Image Illustrator as a PNG, same name as before. Go to Export. PNG is important because you can see in the preview, we have a transparent background. We can do this as a Photoshop file too, but I want to test this with you here with the PNG. Okay. Then we close this file by press Ctrl W. Then I minimize the Illustrator, and then I go back to my Photoshop. Here it is. Okay. Then we go on. I want to close this AI version, and then I open our result from Illustrator, the PNG, and I want to do this now here by placing into. I go to Menu File and Menu Part Place Embedded. This is not only linked, everything is into, that's why I choose. Okay, This symbol here is suitable for the PNG, and I say place. And you can see in this place version, we have hopefully the perfect size suitable to our result from before. Okay. At first, I say okay here. Automatically, in this case, we have a so-called smart object. Later, we can deal with. This is a little bit kind of non-destructive work. I say a little bit because we have a little bit loss of quality, but only one times for each process. Yeah. Okay. For the best setting or for the best placement, I go to the opacity of the layer and reduce it to 60. And I deactivate my layer mask here, disable, and I hide my drawing from before. So I have now only the vector result and the AI result over each other. And then I try to bring it perfectly over each other, but not this layer here, the Illustrator one. Okay. It seems so that it works perfectly. Then I bring this down. That means this is the Illustrator result. The Illustrator result has to be now on 100% opacity. And I go to the layer mask of the AI result and activate it again. And now you can see is here. Yes. Okay. Later we colorize it and we make the background step by step suitable. Okay, this is what we want to do now. At first we go to the background. This has to be grayish. The millimeter paper has to be really visible. That's why I bring it up. Then I activate what I want to show. Then I go to the brown layer here and make sure that I have a black in the foreground so that I can use my magical key combination Alt and backspace for fill black into instead of brown. For the Mac users, Option delete instead of Alt. Okay. Then I increase a little bit the opacity of the millimeter paper by duplication. That means I'm on the millimeter paper layer. I press Control J. I repeat Control J, and you can see it much better. It's a little bit too much. That's why I reduce possibly to 60 the duplication. This is all, I think. And now we change the color appearance of all these layers here below. That's why we on the layer in the position here in the most, oh, sorry for scattering. The layer above is what we need now to orientate on. I go to menu layer. Here I go to adjustment layer. And here I go to use saturation. I repeat what I did here, menu layer, new adjustment layer, use saturation. We want to change the color of all the layers here below. Okay. Here it comes. I press OK. And then I want to bring this more into blue. I do. Here it comes. It's a little bit confusing because we have a so reddish yeah, example here, but remember that we have in the background already color. Then I want to desaturate it. This is what I do here. So it's more grayish instead of so much blue. It's nearly gray, but you can see there's just a little bit blue into. Okay, this is what I want to have. Then I want to create a cold-warm contrast, and I want to point out our result of the Illustrator. That's why I do the same nearly for our Illustrator result. I go to menu, not the menu, I go to the layer with the Illustrator result. Here I create again a new adjustment layer, You can do this too here on this symbol in the layer window, the circle with the black and white subdivision inside. And here we choose not use saturation, we choose color balance. Okay. At first I make a mistake so that you can avoid it by your own work, in your own work. When I do this, you can see everything is reddish now. But I want to limit this directly only for this layer here with the face into. That's why I press this button. That limit the function only on the layer directly below. Boom, now you can see. I go to the maximum version here to make it more reddish in the midtones. Then I do the same for the shadows. Boom. And then I have to check if this, I think, really too much. But in this way we can work with. Then I do the same for the highlights. A little bit more red. Yes. And now you can see the vector image is visible here behind. That's why we have to correct a little bit around. Okay, I close this window, press Ctrl S, and create a layer mask, or yes, here, not all. Here on our Illustrator result, I press the layer mask button. Then I take a soft, giantly brush tip. I repeat this brush function. You have to press B to find the brush. Then you go up in the control bar. Then you choose by using the small angle here, the round soft brush as a standard. You can see hardness 0%. And then we spray the black here on the layer mask to delete in a non-destructive way the parts here below. So we have a smooth transition to the background. And we can delete a little bit this vector Illustrator result here in a way, natural appearance here of the right side. And here we go a little bit around the entire head so that we delete all the red parts here in the background on the right. If you want, you can do this randomly here too inside if there's a reason for, but I think this is okay now. And I save this again by pressing Ctrl S. Okay, I zoom a little bit out. I want to create now this 0, 1 background. For this, we need some guides. To create the guides, you have to have the rulers beside. That's why please press Ctrl R. Ctrl R for rulers. This is a shortcut to hide or bring back the rulers. Okay. The move tool key V is the best to work with. At first I define a distance here to the edge. Then I take my MacGyver version to use the same distance here. I create only a rectangle selection by pressing the M key for rectangle selection. Choose this distance here. And then I move it on the right. And then I put directly on my next guide and press Ctrl D. And here for above and below, I choose this distance. And below I take a little bit more, following the composition rule of the visual middle means more distance to the edge below. Okay, now I save this in between, then I press the T key for type tool. I repeat, T key, type tool. And then I drag it in between the guides. Here I have to correct a little bit. Or I say okay, and then I do again. Sorry, I have to laugh about the visible result. I have to bring this above. And then by using the move tool, or better, the type tool, I go up here with my selection. Possibly I repeat it a little bit. You have to make sure that you are in the text, then you have this grip here, and then you can make it suitable to the lines around. Okay, we have this example text inside. Instead of this, we want to have the 01. I select by dragging over or pressing Control A, and then I write in big letters RT. No, sorry, this is our headline later. 01, 01, 000, and so on and so on. You can realize I already have the setting for the maximum spreading here. This is what you can find here in the control bar. Go to paragraphs and choose this forced shape for the text. Okay. And then I go on by filling with the zeros and one in a little bit random way until I reach the second line. Here it comes. And then I copy the entire one by dragging over, pressing Control C, and fill it into behind the last zero in my case, Control V, Control V, Control V, and so on. Now you can see it is more than it's suitable for my preparation here. If you want to change the type style here, select all and go to your control bar here above. I want to use the Calito here in this case, but if you want to have another one, you can drag over and you can see the changing as a kind of preview in your image here. This is really suitable, I think. Okay, I go to my Calito. So we have a little bit more programmer style here. Then, to make it more suitable, I reduce a little bit the distance in between the rows. I go again to the small menu here, go to the distance in between. This is the automatic now. I select it and press the arrow key down on my keyboard. And now it comes step by step perfectly in my guides around. And then I say OK by using the OK key. I want to have this at first in white. Then I want to have a transition to the background that makes a kind of transparency. And then I want to bring this a little bit over the face. Okay. At first white. We go into our text color here in the control bar above. And then we can use the white color here in my fore background, or you press 6 times the F here. Okay. Then I say OK. And then I say OK here. Then I want to create this transition to transparency. This is what we do with the layer mask again. I go to my layer mask symbol here and go to the G key, means gradient tool. This is what we used before too. And here it is. I choose the classic gradient. Make sure that I have the linear gradient. If you can't find this black to transparency, you can use black to white too. But if you want, you can go to basics. And this is in the center of the 3 basic gradients. On the gradient tool, if you have possibly the paint bucket, press longer and move up, and then you have it. Okay, I start here directly in the numbers below. Hold the Shift key to have a perfect vertical gradient, go a little bit over my format and release the mouse key. And I do this a little bit again, yes. So I have a smoother transition. This is what I use. I reduce only a little bit the opacity at first of my text. I go to my text miniature and go to opacity and reduce it to possibly, 60, I think it's okay. or in between, possibly 80, I check. Yeah, okay, let us do in this way. Here inside the face, I want to have it in a way that the face is a little bit hidden of, but only a little bit, behind a little bit, the zeros and ones. For this, I create at first an ellipse, a vertical one. I press my M key and then I select by longer pressing the elliptical mark key tool and start here in the width of the head. Make it as a long ellipse and reach possible nearly the outer area of my head and hair model here. Then I create a feathering of my selection. I go to menu select here above. I repeat, menu select and go to modify. And here I go to feather. Select, modify, feather. You can check the short key here in my version. It's a little bit complicated with my functional keys. That's why I have to leave out. I choose 60. It's really exaggerated, but we want to have a soft transition. That's why I do. Press OK. And then I want to have it in this way that the natural face part is not so covered by the ones and zeros. The rest is a little bit in a transition. That's why I use again the gradient tool. Okay, we have the selection. Make sure that you are on the layer mask. I have to do this. Click here on this. Then I press the G key for gradient. Repeat, G key for gradient tool. Then I start here. Yeah, I would say here in this area of the eye. Hold the Shift key and drag it horizontally in the direction of the reddish part here. A little bit over my ellipse and release the mouse key. So you can see this is free from these numbers. I want to have it a little bit more in this way. Yes, this is what I like. Then I press Ctrl D for deselect, Ctrl S for saving. And now we go with this into Illustrator and create there our line, our headline, artificial life. Okay, let us do. We minimize the Photoshop, go back to the Illustrator, and here create a new file at first, and then I place our result into. Okay, File, New. I repeat, File, New, or Control N. I take this 1920 to 1080 with a white background and the printing resolution and press Create. 1920, you can read here. You can put it inside here if you want, if this is necessary. And then go to RGB color, high resolution, white as a background, press Create, ignore the rest. The rest is default in our case. Okay, then we place the file into. We go to menu File, Place, choose what we need, drag it from left above to right below or opposite or in the way you want. Here in this case, we can lock the layer. This is nearly the same like in Photoshop. We can press here beside the eye in the layer window. By the way, if there's a problem to find, I know it comes a little bit late for the beginners, but if you have problems to find here in the standard view with the symbols here, you can go all the time to menu window, and here you can find the layers too. This is here in the alphabetical order. Okay, and then it appears. If you need a bigger view, you can go to the small window menu here above, and there you can go to panel options. And here you can go to large, or you can increase more to 80 or 100. It's really giantly. For me as a lecturer, is often suitable. Sometimes we need this big view, and then you can do for better understanding now it works, I think. We can call this with a double click image. We name it in image. And then I would say we ignore it in a way that we don't touch it. Not really ignoring. Then we create a new layer. Funny is that we have not the same short key as in Photoshop. In Photoshop, it's Control-Shift-N if you want. In Illustrator, it's Control-L. Or you use, similar to Photoshop, this plus and a square. Okay. Here we want to create our text now. I press the T key. By the way, if you have problems in Illustrator to find some tools or the control bar, often when you start in Illustrator, the default setting is a standard toolbar. The default setting is without a control bar here above. And the default setting is a dark appearance. I like the dark appearance in the meaning of design, but not in the meaning of function. Okay, if you have problems, then you go to menu window, and here you can find the control. This is the control bar here above. If you want to hide or bring back the contextual bar, this is this AI function, you can use this here. And if you want to create a more advanced toolbar, you can activate it here. Okay, back to our work. I need now here guides 2. Same function as in Photoshop. I press Control R for rulers. Take here my not direct, my selection tool. Works in a way a little bit like our move tool. And here I drag out. Oh, what happens here? Is this really fixed? I have to check. If you have some problems, you can go into the view, and here a little bit below you find the guides, and here you have all functions, and here's, I don't know why, I can't remember. Here's unlock guides. That's why I can't grip. Okay. And here it comes. I orientate directly on my numbers here and do the same on the right. And then I go to my type tool by pressing the T and create a text frame in between the lines. You can see, boy, it's so small. At first I write here the artificial life in small letters. Artificial life. Then I press Control A for selecting all. Then I go to my types here and go to Calito again. This is the C above. Where it is. Here it is. Then I go to bold. This is what I want to have for the style. Then I select the size of 12 points here and go to my arrow keys on the keyboard and increase, 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 increase by holding the arrow key up. Okay. I press beside to say okay to this style. Then I select this frame and check what I need here. Possibly I make it a little bit higher so that I can make it suitable, but before I check the adjustment for the paragraph, I press the T key again, click one time into, press Control A for selecting the entire type style here, the headline. And here I go to my paragraphs here in my control bar above. Sometimes you have it already here visible, sometimes it's hidden. Depends on the symbols you arrange here. I go to this forced entire shape and press beside. You can see it comes a little bit outward. And then I move it a little bit. That means at first I go to my selection tool Use the arrow key to the right. Yeah, I think this is better. Then I want to create this funny style from before. That means I want to have a gradient into from orange yellow to transparent. And I want to have a stroke around in white at first. Okay. I go to menu type. I repeat menu type. Here I go to um, create outlines. I repeat create outlines. Now it works with the gradient tool. Okay. Then I go to my filling here in the control bar. One possibility. Or you do it here. I go to the gradient example. You can see it's not suitable in the way we want, but we change it. Then I think, no, it doesn't work. We go to, is it possible to do by, normally it works in this way. Oh, it's funny. Okay, in this case, we go to menu window, and here we go to the G key, means not the key, the letter, to gradient. I repeat, window gradient. Here it comes. We want to have this in this 90-degree appearance. That's why I choose it. 90. Now we have the dark color above, the bright color below. Then we want to have orange yellow instead of black. That's why we click on this grip here 2 times. And here we can go to the swatches, and then I choose the already existing orange yellow. This is this one here. And I reduce a little bit the opacity to 80. Then I go out of by clicking beside. Then I go into the white grip 2 times. And here I reduce opacity to 0. Here you can see. Then I want to have the transition a little bit more down. That's why I take this grip and bring it to the left. And here you can see it walks below. Walks below. Okay, I close the window and create a stroke around. Here is the color for the stroke. The red line means nothing or transparent. I would say better is nothing. Here I go to white. And then I increase the value to 4. Here it comes. Okay, check. Yes, looks cool. Then I want to duplicate it. At first, we do this in a perfect order. That means we rename the layer to text1, text 01. Yes. And then we duplicate the layer by using the menu. Here it is, the small menu left above. Duplicate text 01. Here it comes. Then we take this one here, call it text 2 by using a double click. And then we grip the text 1 and move it up. Means if you want, you can select the text by using this tool and clicking inside, or you can use this small bubble here, circle, sorry. And I want to have this now behind, it has to be behind. And then you can go up by using the arrow key. Dum, 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 a little bit. This is too much for the appearance. That's why I go out of the white stroke here and reduce the entire opacity. This is what you can find here in the control bar. I go to 60, enter key, and you can see. When I delete now the lines beside, I go to menu View, Guides, Clear Guides. And when I press Ctrl 0, and when I take out of my layers, and when I press Ctrl R, we have the final result now. Yes. Wow, it was a little bit hard work, but I think it looks cool. I hope you like it. Yes. If you want, you can come back. I want to give you a little bit an outlook to the next planned videos. In my mind comes the idea of creating some short videos for some basic functions for Photoshop, Illustrator, and so on. And yes, for the illustrators or drawers or artists in the audience, I want to create a video with the body proportions, and then we go on to combine with other software again. Yes. Thank you for watching. See you later. Bye bye. Have a nice time. Bye bye.